You are not going to want to miss our latest episode with Christina Bottis, Chief Marketing Officer at Coyote Logistics. She is going to break down how to build an amazing digital go-to-market strategy in a non-traditional industry. Welcome to another episode of Talking Sense. I am here with Chief Marketing Officer of Coyote Logistics, Christina Bottis. Welcome, Christina.
Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you on. And Coyote Logistics is driving business.
Sure are.
Driving business for the last 15 years, trucks, trains, air, or ocean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Especially now. Great time to be in supply chain right now.
So it's safe to say Coyote Logistics is an older school company or industry, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, logistics and supply chain, much like manufacturing, you could argue they were laggards when it comes for digital transformation and approaching things in a way that thought technology first, digital first. And that's actually how Coyote came to be. Is we were, our founder built the software to enable that process and built a company on top of it, and it's a testament to the success we see today.
So, but you came in 3 years ago.
3 years, 4 months of bliss.
Not that you're counting.
I see it on LinkedIn.
Okay. So you came in and I mean, had they even had a chief marketing officer before?
They had. I think very, very different approach to a different stage in their life cycle, right? We're Chicago-based, and it was one of the largest sort of technology-forward companies. And so it was a public relations dream, right? Founders, local, rapidly scaled to 1 billion and thousands of employees. And so the job of marketing at that time was to drive as much awareness as could really translate into employees and human capital, right? Demand was not a challenge because, we talk about this all the time. 15 years ago, like the fact that my mom buys anything online right now means it's mainstream. It's mainstream, it's fully adopted. Valerie is shipping things. But there was a time, right, when it was a weird concept, but this wave of adoption created this demand and sort of hyper focus on logistics that had never existed before, right? I even say it today. You watch CNBC, there was an interview yesterday with a high fashion brand, and the first question was about supply chain. And I'm like,
well, especially now.
10 years ago, 20 years ago, that was not, supply chain was the department who got it done that no one ever talked about. So when we talk about demand and what marketing was doing, demand was naturally rolling in because there was a need, and the consumer was buying differently, and they were accepting this new way to buy, and supply chain had to enable e-commerce, right? And so fast forward 15, 20 years later, now everyone's doing that. That's mainstream, and so we have to think about, right, what differentiates Coyote today versus 15 years ago when things were emerging? What differentiates the technology and the balance of the critical thinking and the people today versus back then? And that's really what we're focused on today.
But you've come in and in 3 years have really built a digital go-to-market engine.
Yeah, and that was our focus from day one. Was how do we create, you and I have talked about this before, how do we start thinking about where our customer is in their buying process versus what season it is for us and which product line we're trying to push? All those things are very important, right? Seasonality and certainly product strategy and business planning. But where you are in your buying process is personal to you, not to my marketing plan. And so the way to do that was building a digital ecosystem that could show us what are some of the triggers that we're learning to say, I think you might have this problem. And I think this problem is becoming urgent. And I think you're getting down to a list of ways to solve the problem. Or maybe you don't know how to solve the problem and you need help. And digital is the platform that enables us to do all that. And to bring in, right, the offline, because it's not just the digital channel, but digital truly is the infrastructure that enables all of that insight.
So you had a hilarious saying. You said it's always Christmas.
It's always Christmas, yes. And I can't take credit for that. Our head of digital marketing, Alan Anand, that's his philosophy, right? Again, when you take marketing is a push-pull relationship. And there are definitely things that we're pushing out based on what we know about seasonality and our goals, but the real beauty is when you can pull somebody in because, hey, it's Christmas to them today, right? They are in the market today, and that might not have anything to do with when I or our data says seasonally people tend to do this. We're about creating the one-to-one buying journey for you. And sometimes you fall into the mass bucket, right, which is great for us, but sometimes you don't, and that's what we're focused on is aligning to your journey, to your Christmas.
To my Christmas. Every day is
or
Christmas.
whichever holiday you'd like to celebrate.
I love that. I love holidays.
Yes. I love presents. It works for everybody.
It works for everybody. So one of the things we also talked about was in 2019, you were named the thought leader of the year for your space. Coyote was. And, I think the future of content marketing is I call it data-based growth. I've heard it called evidence-based marketing. But, really sharing data from your own platform that might feel like your secret sauce.
Sure.
It might hurt just a little bit to want to share it out.
Yeah.
And you did that. You took that risk with the Coyote Curve. Maybe tell people about that.
Sure. The Coyote Curve is a quarterly market forecast that we now give to the public. We do it via webinar and content marketing, obviously. But really it came from, I'm very passionate about using what we do on a daily basis to help other people, right? And specifically supply chain professionals do their jobs better. And that doesn't need to come in the form of selling a product. That has to do with, we see a lot of things. We're a global supply chain company. We have insight. We can help people plan for things that maybe they wouldn't be able to without the insights that our holistic systems are bringing to the table. So that's what the curve was. It was data that our teams really were sharing with our customers, right, on a one-to-one level. But when we took a step back, we said, this is incredible information that everyone really, if you think about it, where the market is headed and how our stuff gets places is pretty much, post-pandemic, knowing where our toilet paper is was a really important topic. And so anything that we can do to help give people the opportunity to do their jobs better is what we want to do. And that's what the curve was. And it was a little nerve-wracking at first to take something that was only shared in meetings and internally perhaps, and put it up on a platform and say, so what happens now? Like, what do we do now?
Well, you said that you didn't think it was going to be a big deal. And then people were
I
like,
didn't,
what?
right, yeah. So again, it's something I'm passionate about. And, in past lives, I've seen that really be the key to customers looking at you in a different light, right? To be able to say, I'm here to help you solve your problem. And sometimes that doesn't always mean selling you something. Sometimes it just means giving you some information so you can plan. I mean, that's what we hear from our supply chain customers is, I can't plan like I did before. I'll take anything. Any data. I'll take any data.
Any small nugget.
Anything you have. And so we've got tons of it. And why not do that and build the partnership? And sure, there'll be a buying opportunity eventually. But there are probably going to be a lot more when they look at you as a trusted partner that's helping them even when there isn't a deal on the table. And that's really what we've achieved. And it's gone better than I think anybody could ever anticipated.
You said that a big prospect or key company called like your CEO or your head of sales or something.
It was, like I said, there were a few days where I'm like, totally getting fired. And thank you, Jonathan, for not firing me. But it's a different, using data and insights and thought leadership in a sales process is very different than, completing a bid, giving a quote, having what is still, you have to have those conversations. But in order to start to have higher level conversations that are more strategic and with the executive teams, our sales folks, our goal is to create a conversation, right? When we think about what our content is really doing, we love to put out stuff. We love to get, people attending the webinars. But at the end of the day, what we want is for it to generate a conversation where customer gets something out of it. We obviously can help move them down the funnel. And that's exactly what happened. So we put out the curve, we had the webinar, and we, of course, trickled through, the grapevine, an email from one of the, largest companies that we've been trying to really prospect. And we couldn't break through, right? It was like, nope, RFP season's over.
Yeah,
see you
we're
next year,
good.
see you next quarter. And the email was such that it said, hey, we saw this. One of our teammates was on the webinar. Would love if you could come present this to our executive team. And it was like this moment is how you bring it all together. Because I think sometimes thought leadership sounds so fluffy. And
I just want leads.
Right, I just want leadership, actually. I want to lead in all the things, in the thoughts, in the money, in all of it. I want to lead all of it. But being able to show that this connection of you put something out there, you empower people to take the next step and empower them in their journey, and it results in a sales conversation, which results in a proposal, which results in money, and everyone happy along the way. And that's really what, again, now we see this. This is an evergreen campaign. Every quarter we do this. We're talking at this at a high level. In spaces where, we've had mentions from some of the biggest research companies in the world.
Who now rely on it.
Coyote was never spoken about in those circles. And it's a byproduct, right? It's a fringe benefit. But again, to have maybe somebody's chief something officer in a meeting with another industry and then mention us, that's the type of stuff that cements you as a trusted partner. And that's really what we're all about. We're about being the most trusted provider in the space.
It's so obvious that you've got a great presence.
Thank you. It's a lovely compliment.
Yeah, you've got a great presence. I'm sure you command the boardroom and your team, and you've got all the leadership stuff going on. But one of the things we talk a lot about is what metrics matter.
Yeah.
And you're on our cab, so thank you very much for that.
Absolutely.
And one time we were talking about metrics, and you said, "Guys, you got to be careful."
Like me.
You said throwing a bunch of marketing metrics at the board is like throwing dogs fresh meat.
Yeah.
You're going to get totally chewed up, and they're still going to be hungry, right? So,
I have the luxury of having, again, incredible teammates, and our head of North American sales, Nick Versailles, we call each other, it's the revenue team. Whose goal is not to make money? I don't.
Kind of pays for the stuff.
Yeah, and so to show that common currency between marketing and sales, and even operations and the company as a whole, not to say that it's only about the money, but to unify people and focus on a certain goal, it just cuts the rest away. Anybody knows that if you put a number, people's first inclination is going to be where'd it come from, how'd you get it, and
did you carry the two?
Did you carry
How many
the two?
decimal places?
And
did you
love my teammates know, I'm in marketing. I'm here to make money. You guys do the finances. You just do the Excels and tell me, how's it all netting out? So what I didn't want the conversation to be around was, marketing says that we influenced X amount of dollars and did X amount of things, and that conversation never goes anywhere. Stop trying to be taking credit for a part of a journey that at the end of the day isn't far enough. And so when you start to bridge it as a partnership to say, we're all trying to sell this. We're going to push the ball farther. You're going to take it and run with it. And then hopefully it crosses the goal line and then we all win. I think that approach, and we set the goals together. We do it all together, not marketing and then sales. People ask me all the time, Coyote was the first place that I was a chief marketing officer, and they're like, well, what's the difference? So you're at the seat at the boardroom, what's the difference? And I go, stop talking about marketing.
Yeah, you don't talk about marketing as much.
Stop talking about marketing. It's an input in a broader strategy. And if you can't show your colleagues and the business that you are focused on the strategy, and you have insight into how all of these things ladder up into all of us winning that end goal, well, no wonder people are going to ask you about LinkedIn posts and likes. And it's
Sure.
like, don't even get out of here with that conversation. Go up, keep going up. And, performance of marketing tactics is very important to myself and my team. And we cover those things. But at the end of the day, the board's first conversation is going to be, how much money did we make? We gave you this amount of money. How much money did we get back? And if you can't easily distill into that, then that's probably not going to be good.
Not going to be good. Not going to be good for anyone involved. Yeah. So you guys are very digital savvy.
Yes.
Especially for your industry. Mm-hmm. I've seen your ads, your green machine.
Yeah.
It looks like it's going great.
Yeah. Green Means Go is it's funny. Do you remember
nice creative.
the love?
You've got good creative.
Yes. Hats off to our creative team. It's the direction that the brand and the visualization of the brand is going. I could not be more pleased, because what we're really doing, and this is, we're 15 years old this year, and our goal, we talked about trust, but the evolution of the brand is taking something that was a very literal translation of a coyote, right? And that sort of translated into the aesthetic, this sort of like aggressive, forward brand, which is good. But now what we're trying to do is say, to scale this around the world, how do we take this idea and symbolically interpret it, right? So the initiative, we call it, is from animal to attribute. How do we elicit the attributes of a coyote that is, it's tenacious, they have keen vision, they're fast, they're agile. We want to be all those things. And so I think you're seeing that in some of the creative and some of the, the campaigns. So Green Means was basically us trying to show that Coyote is multifaceted, and most people know us from moving truckload. That was our, our core product. It's what we do best. It's what we will do best forever around the world. And now we have lots of ways to help you, right? And different equipment types and different consulting services and data and people and experts. And we really wanted to take that equity in the brand and the color green and show people, we've evolved, and all of that evolution results in more options for them to grow their business with us.
So you've put together, though, over the last 3 years, you're evolving the brand,
Yep.
You're focused on revenue. It sounds like you've got a great partnership with sales. Mm-hmm. The thought leadership, you're crushing it. You also kind of came into a no tech stack.
Yeah.
I mean, not even a CRM.
That's not even a lie.
So you sort of leapfrogged. You didn't go in any traditional order.
No, we did not. But I'm a big believer in proving, especially when you start at a company, right, where marketing has not been known for what we know it can do, right? Not to say that the PR and the awareness of the brand, I was very lucky.
Everyone loves a one-pager.
Ugh, it's a swear word to me. Our website was called the Brochure Site. Everybody knows that is, like, if you say that in a meeting with me, we're going to stop. We're going to take 10 minutes. We're going to review why you should never say that again. I mean, it's just, there's no getting past that. But, being able to, I love giving presentations. I clearly love to talk. But nobody wants to be the person who gives the big presentation and then doesn't deliver on any of it.
Yeah.
And so that was our approach, was the thought that marketing could do these things was not really something that everyone had bought into yet because they hadn't seen it before, right? And so we started small, and it goes back to trust. We said we were going to do this, and then we did it. And we said we were going to do that, and then we did that again. So slowly but surely you saw people giving us the buy-in to do bigger things that were a little bit more risky and a little bit more conceptual that maybe they hadn't seen before and they couldn't really relate to, like a CRM, right? Building a centralized hub for everything we know about a customer. You know, you're 15 years old,
Never had
billions in business. Why do we need it? And being able to, marketing, I can say, has been a driving force at Coyote for. We've always been customer centric, but being able to show that customer centricity is also kind of a function of infrastructure. And no company knows that if you're, in arrears. And companies today, right, you start thinking, all right, where are my data lakes and how am I collecting all of it and putting it in one bucket?
Right.
You only know what you know, and we had such crazy success and we scaled so large, and at past companies like Career Builder, we had the same issue where we woke up one day and we're like, we're huge, boatloads of data, no idea how to find anything, right? No normalization, none of that. So, being able to push ourselves and build almost a digital infrastructure
first,
for the company first. Yeah. We didn't do the CRM right away. We had to show, we put an ad up and someone clicked on it and then they went to a lead form, right? And I'll never forget, I find myself saying this a lot, that it's not about us, it's about them. It's about them, it's about them, it's about them. And somebody sent me an email we had just implemented, we didn't really have much digital advert. We had no display. We had, some small SEM stuff going on, but really nothing cohesive and funnel driven. Mm-hmm. So we had some of these things start to fire, and my favorite thing to do when you're starting in a company and people are like, what does marketing do again? Is to make sure that you put all of your employees, especially the leadership, into a user pool and make sure that they see all the stuff. Because digital is kind of like, it's pixie
everywhere.
dust, right?
Yeah,
and you're
yeah.
like, oh yeah, the ads are running, everything's great, and they're like, I haven't seen anything. And it's like, well, you will now. Well, yeah. So one of our executives was like, I saw this ad on this site, and what does ESPN have to do with anything? And I go, well, were you on the site? It's about you. Are you in supply chain? Would you call yourself a decision maker? And would it maybe be a good idea for somebody in sales to call you? Of course it is. And it was that moment that they
were
all
like,
sort
whoa!
of, yeah. And so now, right, we got them in the pool. Now, out of the pool, and they all know, if you click on my ad, I'm charging it to your budget because that's costing me money, and I don't have to sell to you. So it's been, like I said, just a great experience to get that buy-in, because the team has worked so hard, and clearly we've seen the results, but it's been quite the journey.
Well, you're a force. You're a force.
says one, right?
Says one. Let's talk about you.
Sure.
Let's talk about you. I'm asking everyone this season about your favorite job, not this one. Because it's kind of sometimes fun to reflect back.
So, favorite job ever?
Ever.
Okay. So when I lived down the street from a Burger King when I was growing up. And when I was 15, I went and got my worker's permit. And I'm like, I'm gonna make money. I'm gonna crush it and, probably go buy an Abercrombie t-shirt, right? So I interviewed at the Burger King, and they're like, we only have one shift available, and it's 5 a.m. to noon on Sundays, right? To a 15-year-old, which, well, let's be serious, my curfew was 8 p.m., so it didn't really matter. But so I got to work the drive-through. I'm like, I'm touching the food, not really me. And they're like, cool, if you cut tomatoes for an hour in the morning, we'll let you work the drive-through all day. And I was like, sold. Negotiating 101. So in the morning time, so we're talking about Sunday. So I got to, it was all of the grandparents coming from
Church, yeah.
all the regulars who wanted their sausage biscuit and jelly, and it to me, there is no better way to understand how to work with people than to work fast food and retail. Like, it is such a great little window into, you gotta solve the problem. The problem is
that's right in front of them.
I'm hungry and I want my biscuit now. And what do you mean it's $2.89? I'm a senior and it should be 85 cents, and I'm on a fixed income. And what you're doing back there on your buttons with the cash register. And I had such an incredible experience at a job that really to this day taught me everything about working with customers. It's like, the customer's right. Just give them the biscuit. Right? Just do it, right? And by the way, there's a clock. It's got to be fast. When's the last time you called your leads? Go, right? So I look back at it, and it's very formative. And my mom still laughs today. She's like, you walked out the door on your first day, and we were like, what is she even thinking? And she's like, you came back and you're like, I had a great day. And the biggest milestone, when you pull up to a drive-thru, well, actually they probably don't do this anymore, but and it's like, welcome to Burger King. Like, how can I have your order? This is my voice. It's like,
that's your
biggest
Burger King
milestone.
voice?
But I got to record the greeting, which at the time was the biggest highlight of my life, which is...
That's still kind of huge. If they're still using it. I mean,
I should go back and see.
To see.
So, yeah.
I love it. All right, well, last question here on Talking Sense, and no one can get off the show without addressing this one.
Yeah, things are getting real right now, aren't they? I can tell you're prepping me.
Yeah, things are gonna get real. You learn more from your mistakes.
Sure do.
So we want to hear about a big one.
Yeah, I was thinking about this. So when I worked at Career Builder, I got my first big city job, and I was a product owner at the time and was running we had like all these little, like, we called them niche sites, right? So this site was targeted at a certain population, and the one that I oversaw was basically a knockoff of LinkedIn. And it was just, we were behind, suffice it to say. But we used it, our CEO was very visionary in the sense that he looked at everything as understanding behavior, right? We got some learnings about how people search for things or converted, and that kind of stuff. So that was all good. So I was doing them, we had a roadmap, and I'd report to the board and all the things, and you're like, it's not gonna work, right? I'm like 26, lying awake in bed, like, my product is gonna die. And I couldn't take it. I went like straight Jerry Maguire and put together what was called the manifesto, and I'll never forget it. It had this super ugly Google image of like a guy's face, like snarling, because it was basically me summing up, like, we're never gonna win. This product can't compete. This is a waste of money for the organization. And so I decided to put this together and then put it on the desk of my CMO without telling my boss, which was, in hindsight, not a great idea. Another time I for sure thought I was getting fired. And so we talked about it, and, learning the idea of communicating and getting buy-in for big ideas was something I very much learned at that time. But it was formative for me in that moment, because no matter how passionate I may be about something, it's like, you can't just fly off the handle, which sometimes again, we have good days and bad days. But I'll never forget it, that, from that moment on, this idea of, bringing somebody into the buy-in circle, and you and I having a meeting, me saying like, here's what I'm kind of thinking. You in? All right, cool. I'm gonna go get a few more people, and then together we're gonna maybe go to the business and tell them what the recommendation is. And the irony was, in the end, it worked out, because the CMO was like, hey, I appreciate it. Like, why isn't anybody telling me this? So yay for that.
Right.
But what it was missing was, okay, now what? Like, what do we do? Great, you've told me the problem, and this I feel like we talk about on our team, and as we're mentoring younger employees, right?
Yeah, it's easy to come up with all
problems
the things
are easy to find.
yeah.
It's not super hard to do, but telling me what we should do next is the critical part of not only like doing your job well, but also demonstrating leadership capability. And learn that lesson.
Well,
Learn that lesson.
You know, I think we've all had one of those moments where we're like, probably should have brought a few people along for this ride.
Right.
Feeling a little out there on my own.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing. You know, it's an amazing. You just have done a great job, and I think it's easy for CMOs to sit there and say, well, my company, I've got a tough environment and they're not ready for change. And, but you know, that's why I love talking to folks like you and your team, because you're like, nobody's ready ever.
No.
And you just got to get after it. And you've done an awesome job plowing through.
Thank you. I mean, I was lucky to have really incredible leaders in my past lives, and one of the biggest lessons that I learned from one of them was your job is to basically make yourself dispensable to the team, right? Mm-hmm. Like, and all the things that you just mentioned are because of them, and I get to go talk strategy all day because there isn't a doubt in my mind that all the marketing stuff is just crushing it, right? And they're doing it, and so much of we talk about tech and humanity a lot at Coyote, and the balance of how digital and technology is really supposed to enable and heighten the impact of human capabilities, and without them none of this happens. So I appreciate it. They deserve all the accolades.
All right, well, you heard it here first. The Coyote team is crushing it. They're awesome. We appreciate them.
Thank you.
And it's been awesome to have you as a customer and a friend. So thanks for coming on
Absolutely.
Talking Sense.
Happy to be here. Thanks again.